Hi, this is Chris Whittington, and you're listening to On Faith's Edge with Joe Taylor.
If God has said he will do something, he will do it. And you can trust that. And that's probably the biggest contribution to our faith that has come out of this.
On today's show, I speak with author and speaker Marion Pyle about her new book, Healed, Healthy, and Whole: How We Beat Cancer with Integrative Therapies and Essential Healing Strategies. This is a journey of faith, alternative medicines, and ultimately healing. This is the 52nd episode of On Faith's Edge. Thank you, Mr. Chris Whittington, for that introduction. I am a big fan of Chris's music, and I really invite you to pick up his project, Bright Portal. It is just a fantastic compilation of music, amazing songwriter. He worked with Kemper Crabb. For those of you that are familiar with Kemper's music, Kemper's an amazing singer-songwriter as well. Anyway, I invite you to go pick up Chris's music. His latest EP is Bright Portal. And if you want to hear more about Chris Whittington, you can hear our conversation at onfaithsedge.com/40. That's onfaithsedge.com/40. Really, really interesting guy. Well, hello. Welcome to On Faith's Edge. My name is Joe Taylor, recovering atheist and your servant in Jesus Christ. This is your place to hear conversations with interesting people about God. Last episode, I spoke with Don Hawkins. As the executive director of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, Don is a passionate defender of human rights who has dedicated her life to fighting against societal harms that threaten the dignity of others. Her energy, creativity, and mobilization skills have revived the anti-pornography movement. She's appeared on many national television programs, including Fox and Friends, CNN, and Good Morning America. You can hear my conversation with Don at onfaithsedge.com/51. Again, that's onfaithsedge.com/51. On today's show, I speak with author and speaker Marion Pyle. Together with her husband, Russell, she is co-founder of Legacy Media Lab, a media and communication company located in Southern California. Her book, Healed, Healthy, and Whole: How We Beat Cancer with Integrative Therapies and Essential Healing Strategies, is a true story about this couple who overcame devastating odds in a race against time to find healing for her husband Russell's deadly form of cancer. This journey of discovery is full of faith and hope that leads to the world of integrative therapies and alternative treatments. Now, when I was first given a copy of Healed, Healthy, and Whole, I'll be honest with you, I was really concerned about being one of those over-the-top, name it and claim it, believe and you will be healed type of books. And not that I don't think God works that way, because you'll hear me say in my interview with Marion, God is God and He'll do what He wants to do. But having said that, I was just concerned about it being just one of those types of books. I think you know what I'm talking about. But after looking through it, I really found a practical guide that had prayer and spiritual guidance, as well as conventional and alternative medicines. And so I invited Marion on the show, and I think the book, Healed, Healthy, and Whole, is at least worthy of exploring. Hello, Marion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. Good to be with you.
As I said in the introduction, you are the author of the book Healed, Healthy, and Whole: How We Beat Cancer with Integrative Therapies and Essential Healing Strategies. Marion, I have to really be honest with you to start off with. I was skeptical when I first picked up your book. You are a believer, right? A Christian?
Absolutely.
Okay, and your husband as well?
He is.
Okay. Well, then we both know that God is God and He can do anything He wants to do. Right?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to come from that position, but I do want to let you know that I was skeptical at first, because while God is God and He can do whatever He wants to do, I personally have issue with some of the health and wellness preaching that we see prevalent in the Christian media and the Christian community today. Having said that, after digging into your book, this is not that kind of book. This is a very practical, a very inspirational, and a very detailed guide on how your husband beat cancer. And that's a pretty bold statement. In fact, your claim is that you and your husband actually beat cancer. So, Marion, I'm going to ask you to just start from the beginning and tell us your story.
Well, thank you. And, Joe, I thank you for your honesty as well, because I think that skepticism is probably very prevalent. And, we were among the skeptics at first ourselves. And so we totally identify with what you said. And I also appreciate that you took the time to read the book and give it a look, because we took great care to word our journey in a way that people could hear it, that they would find helpful, inspirational, as you said, and also extremely a wonderful guide as to how to travel the road that we traveled and maybe come out victorious and have them, they could have a happy ending as well. So, in a nutshell, we are a couple who live in California, and we live a very healthy lifestyle and always had. We've been married 18 years. We eat well, we exercise, we don't smoke, we don't abuse alcohol. I mean, there was no reason why my husband should have come down with cancer, could have gotten cancer, but in 2012, he was diagnosed with an extremely malevolent type of bladder cancer, and conventional protocols gave him no hope. They wanted to take out his bladder to save his life, and even then, they said there was only a 5-year or less than 5-year expectancy. They said that chemotherapy was not even an option, held no hope for us. Radiation wouldn't work. And so we were forced, Joe, as any person would, to look elsewhere. Anybody who enjoys life and isn't ready to move on, isn't ready to go. Mm-hmm. We began a journey of discovery. And as you pointed out, God is God. His ways are not our ways. He directed our steps, as the book points out. The book is written, as you know, in a chronological way, so that you follow how our journey of discovery. God led us to the world, a universe we did not know existed, of what we call integrative therapies. And these combine the best of traditional protocols with alternative protocols. And we found that Russell, in less than 10 months, Joe, he was completely healed. And we're going on now to 3 years of his complete healing. And he feels better than he ever does. He looks fabulous. And we are on a maintenance regime that we believe is going to keep him healed, healthy, and whole for a very long time to come.
I find your wording very interesting, Marion, because most people who talk about cancer, they will use terms like, oh, well, my cancer's in remission. You are boldly proclaiming that your husband is healed. Yes.
Yes, we are. And again, we believe that, well, we watched what happened to his body as we had ups and downs. I'm not going to say it was a meteoric healing experience. It wasn't like Jesus didn't touch him and suddenly it was all over. We went through a journey of ups and downs that was very challenging. It challenged our faith. It stretched us. We're different people because we went through this, and it was a great experience. And it's allowed us now to have that test become our testimony and share with others what we were able to discover. But yes, his body was completely healed, and we recognize that from the scans that he's had, from the follow-up exams that are done on him, that there is just absolutely no trace of cancer in the body right now. And we have also learned from the journey that we've been on the different maintenance regimes that you can take to make sure that you create in your body a climate that's hostile to cancer, so the cancer doesn't come back. Because we know very well that it wants to, that it likes to, and that we've learned there are certain conditions in the body that if you allow them, cancer will thrive in certain conditions, and others are hostile to cancer. So if you know those things, then you can keep your lifestyle in a way that creates an environment that's hostile to cancer. The chances are very good that you will not see a remission, see it come back.
How are, in the research that you did and your experience, Marion, how is and I don't want to use the word average American, but I will, how is the average American or the way people are living today, how are we inviting cancer or making cancer? I'll just use that word. How are we inviting cancer into our lives, into our bodies?
That is such a good question. And I will tell you that the American Cancer Society has said that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will get cancer in their lifetime in the United States. That is the equivalent of nearly 1,600 people a day, or 4 jumbo jets of people that are dying every day to cancer. And that includes children and adolescents. It's the #1 disease killer for children and adolescents in the US. And to make it even on a grander scale, the World Health Organization has said that global cancer rates are likely to double in the next 15 years. So we are dealing with something that's very real and very prevalent. And in our research, we discovered that there were things in our environment, there were things in our food supply, there were things in our own spiritual, emotional, mental life, our psycho-spiritual side of things, if you will, that all can contribute to disease. And so our approach to this healing journey was very holistic, which we believe is very biblical, because the Bible talks about human beings as body, soul, and spirit. And so we worked on healing. My husband's healing was both physical, medical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We worked on all those fronts. And I can tell you briefly that we are living in a time where our toxic exposure in our environment is higher than ever. We're exposed to toxins in the home, things like flame retardants on our furniture, things like radiation, the way microwaves change the molecular structure of our food, our cell phones, cell towers, what are called electromagnetic frequencies are jumbling things within our own electrical field and at a cellular level. We have our air and water. If we're not careful, and needless to say, the biggest one is what's called the standard American diet. Our food supply is tremendously compromised unless we're very careful what we eat. The standard American diet is deficient in nutrition. It's high in all the wrong things like too much sugar, too much fat. We also live sedentary lifestyles. And one of the things that 76% of Americans are not getting enough exercise. And as a result of that, our bodies are not getting enough oxygen, Joe. And one of the things that cancer loves is an environment that is very low in oxygen. So our sedentary lifestyles don't contribute to health. Second, another reason is we're extremely stressed as people. We've never lived under so much stress, and we're sleep deprived. And the body needs between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per day that's when the body restores and heals itself. So if we're sleep deprived and we're stressed and we're eating foods that aren't nutritious, and the foods that we tend to eat, fast foods, are full of pesticides and antibiotics. If we're eating not grass-fed beef or chicken, we're eating things that are full of growth hormones that are toxic to the animals, and then we eat the animals. So our food supply is compromised, and we're in an environment that's highly toxic. It can be highly toxic. So these are all contributors to disease. So in a nutshell, it's called a broken world. We live in a broken world, Joe. And so those are many things that we all have to look at and take control of. And the beauty of what I hope my book sets out to do is to explain to people step by step how they can restore what's been broken by the choices of food that they eat, by reducing toxic exposure, by working to mend their relational and emotional brokenness in their life. If there is sin in their life, addictions, relational brokenness, unforgiveness, fear, guilt, we know that not only obstructs a healthy relationship with God, but it also suppresses the immune system. And so many doctors have found that at the root cause of disease is these emotional and psycho-spiritual breakdowns. So we can help get well by doing a lot of inner healing and confession and therapy if we need to, and getting right with God and getting right with others. And these things are all contribute to health and wellness. So it's quite a comprehensive package, but it's well within our ability to do it. None of this is outside the scope of what every one of us can do in their lifetime.
Let's go down that road a little bit, because up until the last minute or so, most of everything that you talked about was very clinical, Marion. And then towards the end there, you touched on a few spiritual elements, and let's go down that road a little bit if we can.
Yes.
What role did your faith, specifically your Christian faith, uh, play in the healing?
It was the number one. It was our number one driver. When we got the news, it turned our world upside down. Those are the three most terrifying words you can hear. You've got cancer, and anyone who has gone through this or has a loved one or is going through it now knows exactly what it feels like. It feels like a death sentence. You think that you've come to the end of the road. It is absolutely terrifying, and it's a giant. You feel like you're facing a giant that you've never faced before, and that it's going to eat you alive, is what you feel. So the first thing we did was fall on our face before the Lord and just say, this is no surprise to you. You are our God. We are your people. You direct our steps. What do you want to do in this situation? How do you want to lead us? What are the next steps? I mean, we literally were at his feet saying, tell us how to go through this. And it was a God-sized assignment. I can tell you now, having come through the other side, it was a God-sized assignment. And when he sends these to you, you don't have the spiritual equipment. And he knows exactly what he's doing. He wants you to be 100% dependent on him every step of the way, which is what we were. And because we were healthy people, so our knowledge of cancer and cancer treatment was next to nothing. It literally we were ambushed and facing a giant we knew nothing about, and we had to step by step, inch by inch, take back the territory that, if you will, that the enemy was trying to steal from us. And our faith played a paramount role in everything. I mean, we give God all of the credit and all of the glory for directing every step that we took.
You know, you said earlier that the cancer was so malignant that chemo and radiation was just not an option. So in addition to your faith, you turn to what you describe as integrative therapies and essential healing strategies. Describe those a little bit to me.
Absolutely. Well, we touched about on this before, that cancer thrives in certain conditions, and there's other conditions that are hostile to it. And one of the things that cancer loves is it loves a low oxygen environment. It loves sugar. Sugar is a fertilizer for cancer. It loves an acidic environment. So let's just start with those three. One of the therapies that my husband did, and one of the beautiful things about integrative therapies, is that they're non-invasive, they're not toxic, they're painless, and they treat the whole person. So one of the things he did to get more oxygen in his body, even though he was a man who was very vigorous and exercised, there was not enough, clearly, and we used oxygen as a weapon against cancer. And so there are chambers that are called the hyperbaric oxygen chambers. They look like a hollowed cigar. They tend to be either metallic, sort of made of aluminum or steel, and they have glass. And the person lies inside them. They're like a big chamber, very comfortable, and you're able to either sleep, pray, watch a video, listen to music, whatever you'd like. And Russell did several sessions over a period of weeks of 90-minute sessions of breathing in 100% oxygen. These chambers are pressurized, and they were used, of course, for divers when they come up from, deep sea diving and things like that. But they've also been used in Europe for over 30 years for the healing of all kinds of deep tissue wounds and things like that. And we have found that it also can be very effective in the fight against cancer. So the cancer starts to retreat the minute you flood the body with oxygen, because it hates it, but it's not harmful to your healthy cells. So that was one thing we did. Then the other thing that we did was Russell underwent what's called intravenous vitamin C therapy. And there are literally dozens and dozens of studies, Joe. Even the FDA will tell you that vitamin C has been known to have tremendous, cause tumors to regress, tremendously effective in the fight against cancer. And so Russell would do his 90-minute sessions of oxygen, and then he would sit comfortably in an armchair, and he would have two big bags of vitamin C that were administered intravenously. He would sit comfortably and read or do his work or make phone calls until the vitamin C the drip was completed. And when you combine vitamin C with oxygen, it turns to hydrogen peroxide in the body. And that is a lethal weapon against cancer. So you start to kill the tumors, you start to kill the cancer through just simple things like oxygen and vitamin C. We also did a number of others that are all listed in the book. We probably don't have the time to go into each one, but there's ways of sending electrical impulses to the tissue the areas that are affected, and the tissue, the cancerous tissue, are healthy cells have a one kind of electrical voltage. Cancer cells have a lower kind of voltage, and if you send it the right electrical impulses, you will scramble the signals between the cancer cells, so the tumors can't reproduce. They literally start to die off. So there are things like that we did, which is, it's a world that we knew nothing about, Joe. We never would have learned anything about it if conventional medicine had not thrown up their hands and said, there's nothing we can do for you. So we praise God that there is this world of alternative therapies. And I have to say, we personally know 5 people who have been healed of cancer using alternative therapies. So I can't say that this is only the luck of Russell and my story. We personally know people, and we're involved in a huge community. And there's many doctors who are MDs. I'm not talking about people who are thought this was. I'm not talking about people that aren't trained. I'm talking about highly skilled medical practitioners who happen to also have combined alternative oncology. They practice what's called alternative oncology. And they will tell you that neither side has all the answers. The alternative don't, and neither does the conventional. And the statistics will bear that out. But when you take the best of both worlds and you integrate it, you give your patient a fighting chance.
Marion's book is only about 150 pages long, so it's a very easy read and can be read in one weekend, one of your afternoons. And I would highly recommend you pick up the book. Marion, the book is set up in seasons.
Yes.
Very reminiscent of Ecclesiastes 3. What was your thought behind this?
I wanted people to understand the journey. I think we're storytellers and we communicate with each other, and we resonate. People's stories resonate with. We resonate that way. Jesus told stories. This is the way we teach. This is the way we share our life experience. And so I thought it would be the most effective way was to explain to people at the beginning that we were like anybody else who suddenly was ambushed by a trial and didn't have any spiritual muscles or human wisdom, that were just ill-equipped. We were inadequate when we started this to face what we were being asked to face. But of course, God was there with us, and he was our shepherd, and he led us through the darkest valley that I can think of as in my adult life. And he led us step by step. And I thought it was worth mentioning because, when a shepherd leads his sheep, he goes through the 4 seasons. The sheep in this maze, you can start in spring and summer and fall and winter. And he takes the shepherd takes those sheep on a very different journey every one of those seasons. And there's things for the sheep to learn. It's always done for their protection, for their growth, for them to thrive and prosper. But many of the things that the sheep have to go through are highly dangerous. And if they don't keep their eyes on the shepherd, they can just be taken out by natural elements, by predators, by falling off a cliff. And that's how it felt to us, that we had to keep our eyes on Jesus or we could fall off the cliff.
Marion, you mentioned earlier that as a result of this journey, and who wouldn't be changed by this journey, Marion, but as a result of this journey, you and Russell are both very different people. How was
Yes.
How are you different now, and how is your faith different?
I think the biggest shift for me, and I'm so proud, and Russell would say the same thing, is we discovered that God's word, Joe, is absolutely true and trustworthy. And that may sound like something so simplistic, but it's revolutionary. When God gives you a promise, it does not matter what your circumstances or look like, or your feelings tell you, or your doctors say. If God says something and you stand on that and you believe it, you will watch it come to pass. You will watch him perform the word that he has given you. You can't force God to do something he's not going to do or prepared to do. So certainly part of this healing journey was saying, Lord, what do you want to do in this situation? Are you taking Russell home and we need to prepare? Are you going to heal him? What are you going to do? And there was many agonizing weeks before we discovered what we felt God was wanting to do. But once we discovered that we knew that God wanted to heal Russell, then we found those scriptures in which he reaffirmed that. They literally jumped off the page into our hearts. We memorized them. And regardless of what the diagnosis came in and whether the test was positive or negative or what doctors would say, we just stood on scripture and believed it. And we watched him change our circumstances until the circumstances lined up with the word of God. And that for me is revolutionary, because you just fight off, the Christian life is a battlefield for our mind, and it's fought and won in the mind. And so if you can discipline your mind to understand that if God has said he will do something, he will do it, and you can trust that. And that's probably the biggest contribution to our faith that has come out of this.
The book is Healed, Healthy, and Whole: How We Beat Cancer with Integrative Therapies and Essential Healing Strategies by Marion, Pyle. How can we find out more about the book, where to get the book, and more about you and Russell?
Thank you so much for asking. Well, we have a website because we're committed to sharing what we learned. And our website is healedhealthyandwhole.com, just like the title of the book, healedhealthyandwhole.com. And that there's a lot of other resources and assets on the website. We also teach a seminar now because people have asked us to go deeper than what's available in the book. So for people who want to do the seminars, they can look at the dates and the locations, and that's also on the website. The book is also sold at all the typical standard online retailers that they can look up and find. It's not hard to find, and we would welcome, there's an opportunity for people to interact with us on the website. There's a contact field where they can send us their questions or comments, and we'll be delighted to connect with them and be interactive with them.
Perfect. And I'll put a link to the book on Amazon on our site over at onfaithsedge.com. Anything else you want to add, Marion?
The only thing I would say is we give glory to God. There's Psalm 50 says, call on me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you and you will honor me. And that is what we're doing with the book and with our ministry now is we called on him in the day of trouble. He delivered us. And this is how we're honoring him. So all glory goes to God.
Marion, thank you so much for being with us.
Joe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
God bless you and Russell both. If you want a free copy of Healed, Healthy, and Whole, go to onfaithsedge.com and sign up for show updates, or just go over to the website and like our Facebook page. I'll give away a free copy next episode. Marion's website is healedhealthyandwhole.com, and her book, Healed, Healthy, and Whole, is available at amazon.com. These links, as well as her Facebook link, can be found in today's show notes at onfaithsedge.com/52. That's onfaithsedge.com/52. Well, that'll wrap up today's show. Thank you to Marion Pyle for being with us today. And thank you for listening. You mean a lot to me, and you mean a lot to the show. God is real. He loves you. And so do I. God bless.
Thank you for listening to On Faith's Edge. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher Internet Radio, or your favorite podcast app on Android, Apple, or Windows devices. To reach out to Joe or leave comments about the show, visit onfaithsedge.com. You're important to us, and we would love to hear from you.